No.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
This, I already have it setting. Oh, what was that?
Let me turn your speaker.
That was it. Technical difficulties to start the meeting. And I do have the Zoom once we call it.
All right. Well, first and foremost, thank you to everybody. It's great to see everyone. Happy 2024. It's going to be a wonderful year once we get through the fall. So everyone be cautious driving. I would like to call the meeting of the Indiana Recycling Market Development Board to order January 25th, 2024. Welcome, everyone. We want to do your housekeeping, Deanna?
Yes, let's go ahead and for those on Zoom, do our welcomes. Thank you for joining us today. I am Deanna Garner, Recycling Market Development Program Manager for Items Office of Program Support. All microphones are currently muted. For attendance tracking, please take a moment to write your name and affiliation in the chat box. We will be taking questions and comments from participants at today's meeting. All participants will be able to unmute themselves and ask questions or make comments at the appropriate times. If you have a question or technical issue during the presentation, please use the raise hand or chat feature. To access these features at the bottom or top of your screen, depending on your device, you'll see a menu bar. In the middle of that menu, there is a chat icon, which you can click on to show the chat dialog. You should also see the raise hand option. Please utilize the raise hand or chat features if you have any questions or comments, and you'll be called upon at the appropriate times. For those on the phone, if you have a question or comment, you can raise your hand by pressing *9, and we will call on you at the appropriate time. When called upon, you'll need to unmute your phone by pressing *6. If any members of the media have joined us, please utilize the chat feature or email media@idem.in.gov if you have any questions or would like to schedule an interview. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on IDEM's website, recycle.in.gov. With that, I'll turn the meeting back over to Bruce Burrow, our chairperson.
Thank you, Deanna. The next order of business, obviously, is consideration and approval of the October 26, 2023 RMDB meeting summary and transcript. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the document that was available for us when we came in, or those that were sent to us earlier?
Yep.
Yes.
Any comments or concerns with regard to the summary?
No.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by Mr. Guerin and a second by Kelly Uyghur. Ms. Uyghur. Do I have any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a quick roll call vote. Kelly?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes, sir.
Sandy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Is Tara on?
Yeah.
Tara?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries unanimously.
There's you missed Matt.
Oh,
Wait,
Matt.
you got Andrew.
Andrew?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
With that, everyone voted affirmative and motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda this morning is an item update from IDEM Chief of Staff. Please help me. Parvane Silva.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you all for being here today and braving the fog. It was kind of an eerie drive in for me, but at least it's not freezing anymore. While I'm up here, I want to thank the board for all of your hard work every year reading, evaluating, and awarding the recycling market development grants. The grants are a really important part of Indiana's economy and strong manufacturing base. And I know that a lot of effort goes into that on your part, and that work doesn't go unnoticed. Since 2008, this work has resulted in funding for 135 projects, totaling almost $17 million, creating over 1,000 jobs and diverting over an additional 1.5 million tons of recyclable materials annually. So that's really, really fabulous. And I thank you for your hard work on that. I also, while I'm up here, want to acknowledge your work last year to kick off the Central Indiana Waste Diversion Projects. These projects were an amazing opportunity to further our efforts to further our efforts for waste diversion activities. And I know you guys are going to be funding a second round next year to build upon the success of the first round. And Deanna tells me that applications will be submitted and reviewed from December to June of this year. So more coming on that soon. And again, I know this adds more work to your plate, but it's so important to make sure that we have another successful example of funding waste diversion projects. Shifting gears just a little bit, we have a lot going on at IDEM these days. Staffing is going really well. We have about 812 staff right now. We got additional funding in last year's budget to hire 15 new drinking water staff and 2 or 3 new positions for our tanks program. So we are in the process of hiring those as we speak. You may have heard that Peggy Dorsey, the head of our Office of Land Quality, is retiring in April after 25 years of service with IDEM. So she deserves that retirement, and we're going to miss her. We have selected a candidate, and we are just waiting through the HR process. It always takes longer than I would like. So as soon as we get the go-ahead from across the street, we are going to make an announcement. So you guys will hear something soon. And we also have another vacancy in OLQ. Corey Webb, the Deputy Assistant Commissioner, who reported to Peggy, also took a role at another agency. So we have that position posted as well, and we are accepting applications for the next couple of weeks for that. So if you know anybody who might be a good fit for that role, send them our way. So like I said, we've been doing really well with staffing. The governor's compensation study that was implemented last year has been a huge help in getting higher quality and more candidates for all of our open positions. Prior to the comp study rolling out, we would have positions open for months and months at a time and get no qualified applicants, like nobody at all. So as soon as those salary changes went in place, we started getting not only candidates in general, but really good candidates. So it put us in a position where we could start to be picky about who we hired, which is really, really exciting. So instead of getting no candidates for a position, we might get 20, and a lot of them have environmental experience. And a lot of them are really bright young people just graduating with backgrounds in science and, you know, environmental policy and things like that. So that's really exciting, and it puts us in a great position to be able to bring in a lot of new young folks to help eventually run our agency someday. And speaking of that, we also hired a new staff development and training director, Amanda Hall. We have been getting a lot of feedback from staff in my 2 years in this role that folks want more training opportunities. We have about a third of our staff that's eligible for retirement right now. A lot of those folks are leaving their positions, like Peg. So we are lucky to be bringing in a lot of new young people, new fresh graduates, and they are desperate for professional development opportunities. They want to learn, they want to grow in their roles, they want training. And the agency never had a formal training policy in place. You know, each section or each branch, each corner of the office would do their own thing in terms of training, but we didn't have a cohesive agency-wide plan. So Amanda came to us from the correctional world, where she has been doing this for decades, developing training programs for agencies just like ours. So she came in and did a thorough analysis of what training we have in all of those little corners of the office. Where are our gaps? What do we need? What kind of training do people want? How are we training our supervisors to thrive in their roles and eventually move up in positions throughout the agency? You know, the commissioner and I are not going to be in these roles forever. Our ACs are not going to be in those roles forever. How are we training people to eventually step up and take those roles and run the agency in a meaningful way once we're gone? So Amanda's also developing a leadership program where I think it's 4 different levels, like a 101, 201, 301 kind of level, where you can get as involved as you want to, and you can take leadership training program that's progressive and gets you more and more and more experience that will be meaningful towards eventually taking higher roles in the agency. So we are really, really excited about that. She has only been on board for about 6 months, and she has accomplished what I thought was going to take years to accomplish. So we're in a really, really good place. It's really exciting right now. One of our more daunting tasks, a little less fun than training and staff development, is working to streamline our IT processes. We have figured out that we are a little bit siloed sometimes as an agency. And again, every section, every corner of the office often has their own data management tool or their own system, their own case management software, their own whatever. And a lot of times data and information is housed in Excel spreadsheets on somebody's desktop or an Access database that is not supported anymore. So we are looking into ways to get everybody on one system or as few systems as possible, which again, for 810 staff and 65 different program areas, it's not an easy task. So we got a little bit of new money in the last budget to dedicate to this IT project. So we're trying to streamline all of the different systems and programs that we have, reduce our dependency on those old unsupported softwares like Microsoft Access, and figure out a better path forward, a more cohesive path forward. So more to come on that. Another fun one, actually, this is a really interesting thing that I'm lucky to be involved with, EPA's Climate Pollution Reduction Grant. If you haven't heard of this, it's a 2-phase grant, and we're in phase 1 right now. And any state that wanted to take advantage got up to $3 million to do planning, to develop a greenhouse gas inventory, identify potential reduction measures, and eventually put a plan in place for their state to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions. So we applied for that. We got the $3 million back in July, I think. Our Office of Air Quality staff have been working really hard ever since to put together that GHG inventory, figure out where in the state emissions are coming from, both what industries and what geographic parts of the state. And they're currently working on that plan to put together to submit to EPA. And then eventually that plan is going to be part of the application for phase 2, which is an almost $5 billion pot, billion with a B, of implementation money for states to actually implement the plans that we put in place in phase 1. So we have to submit our application for phase 2, I believe April 1st. So EPA has really, really aggressive deadlines on this, which doesn't give us a ton of time, but our air quality staff are really hard at work. We did a series of public meetings in Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Portage, and then Ferdinand in Southern Indiana. So we're trying to get input from as many people as possible, from as wide a scope as possible. Another big portion of the grant is making sure that the greenhouse gas emissions have an impact on disadvantaged and low-income communities. So we're also doing an analysis of that to make sure that the ideas that we're putting in place will actually have a big impact on the communities that need it most. So we have 2 more public meetings coming up in February. One is in Gary and one is in Evansville. So we have information about those online if you're interested in driving down or tuning in. And again, more information to come. It's a really exciting opportunity. We're focused on voluntary measures, non-regulatory measures to help bring federal dollars to the state so companies can implement the sustainability measures that they are already doing. So we've gotten a lot of great project ideas from colleges and universities, cities and towns, private companies. We're even considering some ideas that could benefit the state, like electrifying state fleets, putting solar panels on state buildings, things like that. So again, really exciting. I'm lucky to be involved with that. It's a really aggressive timeline for all of this, so our staff are having to work really fast, but hopefully something good will come from it and we'll be able to bring a big amount of federal money to the state to implement some of these ideas. So let's see what else. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Obviously, we're staying really busy at IDEM. That was all I had planned to cover today, but I'm happy to address any other questions if there's anything that you think I missed. And if not, I will turn it over to the next speaker.
Does anyone have any questions?
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the invitation, and I will see you guys soon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. Sounds like a lot of exciting things on the move.
I think so too.
All right, next on the agenda, we have the finance update. Hillary Alderich,
Yes.
Chief Financial Officer.
There's a lot of vowels. Hi, Hillary Alderich, I'm the CFO for IDEM. Pleasure to be here today and talk about exciting finance updates. Since everyone's so riveting all the time. This is a quick overview. Oh, sorry, I should use my clicker. If it works.
I'm not over here very often, so I may have to click for you.
Okay, thank you. So just a quick overview of what funds both of the solid waste management fee. It goes into the recycling promotion and assistance fund. It's 50 cents per ton, and it's divided between the RPAF fund and then the solid waste management fund. It's kind of a nice graphic to show you what the collection is and then how it's distributed. The statewide, the solid waste management fund funds the community recycling, and then the RPAF funds the projects that we talk about today, what you approve. And historically for fiscal year 23, we were about 2.2 million, and then we had the additional 4 million from last year as a result of the House bill. And that was able to be supported. That was not technically the appropriation, but the bill allowed it to do an augmentation for that. And fun part, this just shows you the history of what has been spent in terms of the RPAF and the legislative appropriations and then the amounts for disbursement. And you can see consistently we were around 1 to 2 million until fiscal 23, where we were approved to spend up to 6 million. And then this year we are down to 2 million, depending on what happens for fiscal 24. 25 will look a little bit closer to what we're doing for what we did for 23. For fiscal 23, we did allow, again, the 6 million, 2 million for the RNPD grants, and then 4 million for the Central Indiana Waste Diversion projects. And then we actually spent 4.2 million out of that 6. This shows you the revenues for each fund. So last year, fiscal 23, we received 2.5 million for the state solid waste management fund and 2.6 million in the recycling promotion and assistance fund. Sorry. And cash balances, we have 5.5, had 5.5 at the end of fiscal 23 for the state solid waste management fund, and we ended the RPAF fund at 18.1. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, just get a copy of those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Any questions from board members? No, thank you so very much. It's nice to see the funds growing and we have monies available. All right, the next item on the agenda will be IDEM Office Program Support Update. Carl Woodridge, Deputy Assistant Commissioner, Office Program Support. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning. I just will add on to what Arvani was saying about our training director in the fall. Like, she is really phenomenal. I don't know how we lucked out. Let's get down. I don't even know how we lucked out getting her.
Carl, your voice. I mean,
really, she's really fantastic. You know, she's been working with one of the sections in OPS and Julie Rhodes, the pollution prevention and compliance assistance team, because Julie is a new manager. So we thought it would be good. Julie and Amanda have worked together. We've been doing some team building stuff in that section with new leadership, and she's been doing a really great job. And look forward to doing a whole lot more with her agency. A couple of our staff are going to be in the pilot of the leadership one-on-one training as well. So I think there's a couple folks from each of the different parts of IDEM that are going to be a part of that. So really excited to have her on board, and it's really going to benefit, our office of program support significantly, especially our CTAP program. Now that I've been here a little while, compliance and technical assistance program staff, at the end of the day, they get bombarded with questions from, all the different things that IDEM does. More so for Office of Air Quality permitting and compliance questions. I think more than half of the questions and assistance requests that we receive are for air quality related items, but we did have just solid waste, we did stormwater questions. We don't really get a lot of drinking water questions, but we probably will start to if there's some new regulations around PFAS and things like that. Some things that we start getting more questions about potentially. But one of the things that I have struggled with, and Julie has, is she's been brought on board is training for bringing in some new people into those positions, and even the existing staff who have, decades with the agency, they just can't know everything as regulations change. So I think it'll really benefit us in that regard too, having centralized training, access to those trainings from the other parts of the agency that we may not realize is going on because we're 810 people on 4 floors, government center, 4 regional offices. So really excited about her. We do have a few vacancies in our office. I think I mentioned last time that we were creating a new position in our office, a technology solutions manager, because we have a lot of IT stuff in our IS group. As Part mentioned, they've got a lot on their plate. They're trying to do some streamlining. So we really needed somebody in office program support. We were the only office of the 4 main program areas that did not have a data technology person in our office to help us with some of these things like GIS mapping or SharePoint site and issues we have that come up with that. It's data that needs to be modernized and all those things. So we did fill that position. Unfortunately, it was an internal move. So filled the position and created a vacancy in our CTAP team. So now we have 2 vacancies to fill on that team, our small business regulatory coordinator position and the more central Indiana CTAP position. Also recently, our health and safety director gave notice that she's going to IOSHA. So we're going to be looking, should be posted today, tomorrow. We're looking for a health and safety director for all of IDEM. That position is within our office as well. So, and then we are looking for a new director of our Northwest Regional Office in Belgrade. So that position is vacant, posted right now as well. And then at the October meeting, I mentioned our Clean Community program was being relaunched, and we had an annual meeting kickoff at the end of November after the Thanksgiving holiday. So that program is now open for applications from communities who are not part of our pilot. We had 6 pilot communities that were in that program, sort of helping us retool it and figure out kind of what they were looking for from a program from IDEM that provides some environmental benefits to them, from regulatory benefits to them. So that program is open. Missy Shaber, who is in our Southeast Regional Office in Brownstown, is the manager of that program. So if you guys, your communities that you interact with might be interested in knowing more about that, they can reach out to Missy Shaber if you need her contact information. We do have her information on our webpage for that program, but reach out to Pat or that information. We have to share that with you.
The communities that were part of the Clean Community Challenge, is that just like wiped clean and nothing they've done is carried over to this? Or
Yes, so I don't know how many communities were in that before we retooled it. Do you know, Pat? Because that was all happening when I came on board. So.
I think at the highest level, I think it was about 14, 15.
Yeah. So
So for the projects that are qualified for this round, I think that they have to be current like projects. I think she said within the last 2 or 3 years.
yeah, we can give credit for stuff that was started before this program.
But obviously not like 10 years ago.
Right.
The program.
And it's more project focused, and we've alleviated a lot of the reporting requirements. There was an annual report, and that was one of the major complaints I heard as a reason why I was rethinking how to do this program for communities. And really the main regulatory incentive from what Missy Shaver has told me that the pilot communities were most excited about is just getting that advance notice of an inspector to inspect one of their facilities. So most of the other benefits they really weren't all that concerned about or interested in. It was really just the notification. I think it's a 48-hour notification prior to an inspector showing up instead of just surprised what you're doing. So there's a long list of about a couple dozen varieties of projects that they can choose from. And it's a tiered program as well, which is new. The program before was the requirements were all the same, whether you were a very small community or the city of Indianapolis. And so now it's more of a tiered system where if you're a really small community, you don't have to do nearly as many projects and do nearly as many things as medium-sized or large community. So requirements are greater for those cities that have larger populations and lots more resources available to be implementing projects. So oh yeah, thank you. There's so much going on right now. Yes, governor awards are open for nominations right now. They opened pretty much at the beginning of the year, formally and officially, but we've been accepting them since we announced the awards from last year. So our application deadline is March 1st. Our media and communications group, we've got a new social media person. Natalie Rodriguez has been on board now for about a year or so as our external relations director, and they've been doing a lot of really awesome stuff. I don't know if you guys have followed our social media posts on LinkedIn or Facebook and Instagram and stuff, but a lot more frequent posts and variety of posts, and trying to get the word out of things that I used to. Because I don't think we probably did the best job of that in the past. So trying to get that out, that information out and disseminated through social media. We're getting a lot more hits and shares and things like that. So, but the governor's awards we'll be pushing stuff out on social media on that too. But Caitlin Carroll in our office is managing that program now. So if you have if you guys want to apply for governor's awards, if you know anybody who's doing cool stuff that you want to nominate or encourage them to nominate themselves, please do so. So thank you.
So I do send the announcement to past grantees. There is a recycling category for governor's awards for environmental excellence. So, but we don't always get a ton of nominations in that category. So if you guys, can think of anybody offhand, and even if you don't have time to do the nomination, you can let them know about it, or you can let me know about it, and I might be able to do it. There's kind of different ways we can go about it. So I just wanted to plug it a little bit more because I think recycling needs to be, recognized in the state. So I'd like to see some great nominations with that.
Yeah, the application process is, I think it's a little bit easier now. Karen Taliha, when she was interim managing the governor's awards, she worked with IoT, our Indiana Office of Technology, to make the nomination application a web-based form. So you just go onto the website and they submit it. So it's not a paper form or PDF document that takes a lot of money now. Submit it through the website that you've completed. So just make that a little bit easier. So we did get a lot more last year overall than we did the prior year before that. So I think that probably helped a little bit.
Any questions for Carl or Deanna?
Yeah, Carl, just curious, through the IDEP presentations, they were fantastic. I heard a theme of training. How could, and just curious, and this doesn't have to be answered, but I'm just curious, how could industry help and assist with that training? And that, or could it be an opportunity that we could, you know, partner with some of those folks? I'm just thinking, you know, simple tours of here's how things get done, businesses get done, and I'm sure Bruce and Terry could have treated this proactive training with industry partners could help.
I'm going
Yeah,
to
some of
leadership training tomorrow. Actually.
Yeah, we all get kind of training overload in our industry, but it could be something I'm just curious that we could maybe bridge together and help support, you know, the IDEM staff and team members training on, hey, did you know this is how kind of we do business, and would that help them kind of?
I don't know that I have a good answer to that, but it is a good.
I gave you a segue. You
suggestion.
didn't have to.
Yeah. I guess I would just maybe recommend, you know, I can connect any of you that might be interested in doing something like that with Amanda Hall.
Okay.
Directly, because she might be able to better answer that question than me. Because she's really, like Par said, she's been doing the wholesale inventory since she arrived, of all the different trainings that are happening, you know, that all the different sections and programs within program offices and across the agency that are happening, trying to centralize all of that. So she probably has better handle than anybody at this point what the training is that we currently are doing. What does that look like? Are there gaps?
And opportunities that maybe that the industry can help support.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate
Maybe we can take that off.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. The theme is very familiar. We in industry hear it all the time. And the people, they want continued training. They want to be challenged. They want to be educated and have the opportunity to move up. So that's how we keep them engaged, keep them on the team. And congratulations and thank you guys for your efforts.
To be perfectly frank, I just fumbled for leadership. I've been in state government my whole career, 23 years, so I just kind of had to figure it out as I go along. I haven't had a lot of opportunities for leadership training myself personally. Tried to find those in a few places, but yeah.
Unfortunately,
So
I've had the opportunity over 40 years to have 5 different styles of training, leadership trained to me. And as generations change, you know, there's different tacks that we take to get performance results. So it's quite interesting. So thank you very much. A lot of good things happening. Next item on the agenda, we have the status of existing or update on existing grants. Ms. Garner.
Great. So I'm going to start with fiscal year 22, which we had those 6 out of the 8 that had a year extended. So all but one of those are now closed. Plus Phi Revive, you know, was here last board meeting and asked for the renewal for the additional year. So the rest of them are closed. Some of them I'm scheduling site visits, but everything has gone really nicely with those. Fiscal year 23, we're coming to a close on most of those grants, and they're expiring soon. There's a few waiting for final reports and reimbursements. One, Intech, they are the tire processor. They're going to need an amendment and additional time. They will be buying the equipment before their grant ends at the end of February, but it's a slight change in the equipment. It's still for tire shredding, but it's at a different stage of the process. So we are going to give them an amendment to move forward on that. But we like to keep the grants open until the equipment's delivered and installed and operating so that we can better keep that track. Make sure it's on par with the projects that we funded. And then of course, with those closing out, we're scheduling a lot of site visits. Tom and I are going to be visiting a lot of facilities in the next month. So, but that's always the exciting part, I think, to see the equipment operating. And lastly, fiscal year 24 that we just awarded in October, they're all being in stages of execution or about to be executed, except for GDC was one that we awarded $98,000 to. And in just a little bit, I'm going to give more of an update on what we're going to do, but they withdrew. They didn't want to wait for the project to be executed. So to be able to purchase it. So they already made the purchases before we had a grant agreement in place. So I have some other agenda lined up for updates from past grantees. We have 2 past grantees that are going to be presenting to you, so you can hear kind of their sorry, their progress on their projects. Too many keywords. And then after we have those presentations, we can discuss maybe something. We do have the ability to take that 98,000 and do something with it, since we're in the same fiscal year. So that is on the agenda after these presentations. So with that, my first on the agenda I have is Muncie Sanitary District. Jason Donati is here. We might take a few minutes to set up. I know he has a PowerPoint that he wants to share. Muncie Sanitary District, if you remember, we helped with some arms on their recycling trucks as well as new carts. They were going from the blue bag to the carts, and I've heard great success. So I'm excited to hear about how it goes. So, do you have okay.
Yeah. No one's that.
It should pick it up with that. You're good.
All right. Ready? Okay. Well, thank you for inviting Muncie Sanitary District to be here and give you an update on our new recycling program. I'm super excited to share with you what we've been up to. My name is Jason Benetti. I'm the new superintendent of sanitation and recycling for our department. That's a new position I've been in for about a month. Previously, when I presented to you, I was the sustainability coordinator. So I've kind of changed positions recently with the retirement of our great superintendent previously, Phil Reagan, who some of you may know, who's been in the industry for quite a while. So basically, I'm just going to go over, you know, how the program's gone for. We've been doing this new program since August 1st, 2023. So I got some numbers, I got some pictures, and some fun stuff for you. Passed around a new activity book that we're distributing to schools and stuff like that. So feel free to take that with you. But here's a picture of one of the new trucks. We did purchase 2 new recycling trucks. So this is one of them, 594. As you're all well aware, we received $468,798 to purchase the automated, help purchase the automated parts of 2 Autocar Labries and 7,096 gallon blue recycling toters or carts. We call them toters because it's the toter brand, but carts. And then I just wanted to throw in that also helped us get a $50,000 grant from the Recycling Partnership. We had applied for some funds to help with education and outreach and really utilize the Recycling Partnership and their expertise in helping to get the word out and getting people to sign up for our program. So that's been helpful, and I'll share a little bit more about that. You know, why we do this, this is just a quote taken from the Recycle Indiana Recycling Infrastructure and Economics Study. I'm passionate about waste and figuring out how to recycle as much as possible and not send organic matter, yard waste to the landfill. It's something I'm very passionate about and I've been passionate about for quite a while. So we're all well aware of how much of this material is going to the landfill and how we need to improve our efforts to reduce that. And so Muncie has been recycling for over 25 years through a blue bag program previously. And it was somewhat successful. Our recycling percentages would be anywhere between 26 to 32% diversion. But it wasn't the most efficient process. And that's why we transformed the program and came to you all for assistance with the new trucks. And our goal is to get to that 50% number as well. That's the state's goal. So that's what we're striving for. First thing we did was create a recycling advisory board because we didn't want to do this in a silo. Our community was used to single stream recycling through the blue bag program. And it was a big change for our community. So we created a recycling advisory board. Representative Sue Arrington, who's been great. I don't know if she's on the Zoom call. If you are, hi, Sue, Representative Arrington, but she's on our advisory board. And then we have drivers, solid waste district reps, and then other members of the community. And we would meet quarterly to discuss the program changes, get ideas and feedback from them. And that helped me tremendously create the program and do all the work that needed to be done to make this transformation happen. We offer an opt-in residential recycling cart program with weekly pickups. We decided to go that route because we had previously visited other communities and asked them, you know, how's your program going and what would you do differently? And we heard from a few communities that that they recommended not giving everyone a recycling cart because they saw a lot of contamination and issues related to that. So we decided to create an opt-in program that you actually would take a pledge and do that education up front, and you would sign up, and then we would deliver that to you free of charge, no extra cost to a resident or household, because we thought it was important to really address that up front and do that education up front. And we have found that to be a very successful way of doing it just based on our experience. So that opt-in program, you would go to our website or you would fill out a postcard that we direct mailed. We put this postcard together with the Recycling Partnership. So they had case studies and they had a lot of knowledge and information on what worked best. We did actually 2 different mailers. We did a general mailer and an empathetic mailer, and then we actually tracked what got the best response. So it helped them with some of the work that they're doing and what people can do in the future. But we had a great response with direct mail. And we had a great response online and actually through social media as well. Here's a map of just green dots of how spread out people who've opted in and signed up for the program is spread out throughout Muncie. We noticed early on that not all of Muncie was signing up. And so we then would strategically do direct mail to those neighborhoods and areas. And I would go out and do outreach specifically to neighborhood associations, try to get in the door anywhere I could to get the word out. And so we are pleased to see more of a balanced opt-in participation throughout the city. And then there's our coloring book and activity book as well. This is a picture of a truck dumping the blue bags. This is pre the new program. And initially what I see is a lot of cardboard, right? And we call it the Amazon effect. Everyone's getting boxes and boxes and your items in 3 boxes. So we noticed this over the years and more people ordering online. This cardboard wasn't getting recycled because it was being thrown into a trash toter. It wasn't being ripped up or put into a blue bag. And we were missing a lot of that cardboard that we needed to get and recycle. And so that's one of the reasons why we went to a card program, was to capture a lot of that cardboard. A lot of people would sit the cardboard on the curb, and with an automated system, it's hard to get out and get that. But so this is what a typical truck would look like pre the new program. You see some blue bags, some still intact. You see a lot of cardboard that isn't in a blue bag. And then you just see a process before it would have to go to a conveyor system. The blue bags would have to get ripped open, and we would have to hope that the blue bags contain recycling material. And there were just a lot of issues over the 25 years of doing it. This is the first week of the new program with the 2 new trucks. I know this is super exciting, seeing trucks dump. It is for me, but so you'll see, you know, immediately that these 2 trucks, the 2 new trucks, they're picking up on maybe a Thursday route, which is a big route. Immediately, I was just blown away with the content and the small amount of contamination. So the education up front really does work. And this is actually a live video that I did on Facebook, where we showed the trucks dumping, and then I went into the pile and pulled out materials that were contamination for just public education and outreach. And this video got shared hundreds of times. And so many people came up and said, hey, this was super tangible and helpful, and helped me understand what I wasn't supposed to put in there, and really helped, you know, clear things on what should go in there and what shouldn't. But I was super pleased with, you know, that was the first week and how well the program's been going.
Jason, you're not the only recycling nerd in here. Don't worry. We all
I know. I try to contain myself, but I feel pretty comfortable here with other recycling nerds. Yeah, like as soon as I got the job, I immediately hopped on the back of the truck and worked with my crew, because I was like, first of all, I want to see what everybody does. Second of all, I'm a geek, and I'm like lifting it up. Oh, you know, that's not supposed to be in there, and we're dumping. And so,
how else do you know unless you go out and do
exactly. And I don't want to ask any of my crew to do something I wouldn't do. So I really enjoyed being on the back and going to houses. So here's some of our numbers. So the first 6 months of the program, we've collected 490 tons, so 980,000 pounds of commingled recycling material. We've exceeded our expectation of sign-up. So we're at 10,226 households. So we have about 25,000 households in Muncie. So 41% of our households. Our goal within the first couple of years was to get to 50% of our households. And that's the goal that we've created with the recycling partnership too. We're well on our way to that. I think we'll get there in 3 months because people are still signing up. That's why the plus sign is there. And we're caught up now. There was a lag in delivery for a while, but now I've got a crew that's delivering 2 to 3 days a week. And so if you're ordering a toter, you're likely going to get it maybe that day or the next day. So that's exciting that we're caught up. And then we've also seen some decrease in our trash tonnage. So 2023 compared to 2022, 481.92 tons less trash coming in. And so when I asked Jason King, who's the MRF manager, the material recovery facility manager at East Central Recycling, what do you think about the material coming in? He's a geek too. And he's like, he says that it's the cleanest he's ever seen, and he's excited about it. And he's blown away with the material coming in. It really is. That education up front, I can't stress enough, it's been very successful. And then we've worked with the Recycle Partnership to really build the brand of what the images that are tested that work well, the information that's tested that works well. And so we hand out, when we deliver a toter, we offer 48 or 96 because of space constraints. Most of our households have gone to 96 gallons. But we also have a repositionable sticker that we give them and that they can put on their fridge or the wall or anything like that. We did that instead of a magnet because it was more versatile. And then we also give an 11-gallon kitchen container that they would put in their garage or kitchen or wherever they want to put that material in because they no longer have a bag or anything like that. Then the idea is they would take that, dump it in the larger toter, and that has been very popular. And then we're just continually educating about what doesn't go in it. When I was on the back of the truck, I saw, old fans, electronics definitely shouldn't be in there, a lot of styrofoam, clothing, stuff like that. And then there's obviously the list of things we don't accept, but we do accept at the MRF some of those items. So we're just doing constant education. So we had to get rid of, well, let's just say our old mascot retired. He was a blue bag. Mr. Blue. He actually was featured on HBO, as a joke because he was a funny character. So we had to get rid of him. He retired, and we came up with this concept of Recycle or the Recyclon because the kids in our community love our trucks. They sit at the windows and they wait, and our drivers are trained to watch for that and give them a coloring book or a little toy truck, or because we know how important that is. And these kids just absolutely love the trucks. And so the concept of Recyclor was a transformer kind of based on our trucks with the new recycling toter feet. And then he also has a Peterson grapple arm and a Labrie arm for the picking up the stuff. It's been very popular. We don't have a mascot outfit or anything, but a lot of the kids are really enjoying that. Yes. So again, our goal, first goal within the first 3 years was to get to 12,500. We're already at 10,226 plus. We're giving out these 11-gallon containers. And another thing that we're doing to reduce contamination with shredded paper is we're offering free shredding to anybody that signs up. So we cover the bill. We want people to take this certificate to the MRF, get their material shredded, and then we can cover that program instead of them putting their loose shredded paper into the recycling toter, which can cause a problem, contaminate glass and all of that in the recycling stream process. I want to give a shout out and thanks for featuring us, social media, and you had a staff member come that was excellent and interviewed us and actually followed us around during the delivery and stuff, and posted it on social media, LinkedIn, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback with that. And I had a small interview with that. So just a shout out for that. Thank you for doing that and spreading the word. The other great thing that's come from this is we're able to do community events better. So we've done concerts at Ball State. We've done Ironman, which is a really big competition that comes to the reservoir near Muncie. We've expanded into the downtown area with 3-yard recycling dumpsters. And it's just allowed us to really expand our recycling efforts. This is actually from the Ironman event. I did a waste audit at the Ironman event a couple of years ago, and it's basically a small city in our town for one day. And there was so much waste, it just broke my heart. And so I immediately met with the organizers and said, we need to help you recycle this material and take the rest of the material that's not even used to like local soup kitchens and stuff like that. And so now we have a really good program where we're collecting, plastic, cardboard, and other items to keep that out of the landfill. this program's helped that as well. What's next? We need more trucks. We are at capacity. We got 2 trucks. We started with 2 routes. We're obviously, 10,226 households. We've had to add 2 of our extra trucks. So we're running 4 routes a day. And we're out of trucks. So we need more trucks. And so you may potentially see an application or, more interest from me for that, because we want this program to continue to grow. And we're looking at ways to continuously expand that. We also want to expand our 3-yard recycling containers to organizations like, soup kitchens, nonprofits, downtown businesses, because that's going really well. We're looking at a dual compartment rear loader for alleys and special events. We've tried to get everybody to the street, but there's like 6% of our routes that they can't go to the street because of safety concerns, hills, highway, one way, stuff like that. And so we think that maybe a dual compartment, like 70-30 recycled trash, smaller truck, 12 to 16 yards, will be able to help address that issue. But then we could also use it at special events. And then the other thing that I really want to move into is a yard waste organics cart program. We did apply for the Swiffer grant from the EPA to help purchase more trucks and to implement and start a yard waste organics cart program. But we didn't get that grant. And so, but we have that proposal and we're still looking at ways to fund that and get that program off the ground. And then lastly, that's just a truck picking up a cart, and our way of saying thank you for supporting Muncie and believing in our new program. And it's exceeded our expectations, and we couldn't have done it without this board and all of the expertise that you all offer and have helped with. That's the end of my presentation. I'll answer any questions.
Do you have an open or operating yard waste facility now?
No, what we're hoping to do is establish some land, get it permitted where we would accept yard waste. And in the Swiffer grant, we had put in money for a front loader, a windrow turner, different equipment that we would need to actually turn it into compost. And then we'd also like to explore our street sweepings, because I know Noblesville for a couple of years had a successful program where they were actually able to take their street sweepings, test it, and then use it for municipal projects. They couldn't use it in other ways, but there's a very specific way that you could use that, because I'd like to see none of that material going to the landfill anyway. Right now, we basically do a leaf collection program, and it goes to the MRF and it ends up getting chipped or turned into mulch and stuff like that. So a lot of it is staying out of the landfill, but I'd like to partner with like our food bank, and we do have a business that's collecting kitchen scraps, so the high nitrogen stuff. But I'd like to figure out community partnerships and ways to really create some community compost and stuff like that. So that's about as much as we've got so far.
First, Jason, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And whoever, and if it was you, kudos, the named recycler, the recycler. That's about as best as I've heard in a while.
Thank you.
I wish I would have thought of it.
I'm waiting for Transformers.
Right. Oh, yeah. Just curious, as you know, and as you go through it and you evolve and look to grow, exciting 7 months of an opt-in program that's 41%. I think it's going to continue to grow. Another way to, Kirk, look at costs and costs is do an audit on the routes, especially with the 95-gallon carts, 96-gallon carts. Look inside, or you do kind of a study of a pounds per set out type thing. I know, trust me, been there, done that. Is easy on a weekly set out, and every other week set out is not undoable based on the cost and fleet expense. You save on carbon footprints and things of that nature as well. So as you evolve and grow, that and help in the overall type thing could be it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And one thing we've also noticed in our trash route drivers have noticed is less trash.
Yeah.
And it's so their routes are becoming easier and more manageable.
But the upfront cost of a Labrie auto car truck, especially CNG, is pretty pricey. So
and growing.
yeah. So I mean, that could be another way to kind of help get you to, you know, the threshold of, I don't know, you know, if you had a 60 or 70 or 80% participation rate, that could get you to where you need to go without just cart expense as opposed to 2 to 3 more trucks.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for that. Yes.
How exactly are you handling the paper aspect?
The paper shredding.
Recycling, you said you took care of the shredding.
Yeah, East Central Recycling has a large shredder. And so if a resident comes in with that certificate, they record it, they go in over to the shredder and they shred all of the paper, and then they just keep track of that, and we get billed for how much is shredded. And then that way that shredded paper gets baled as shredded paper instead of it going into our drop-offs and toters. Some of the concerns we've heard in the community was things blowing around, like they were worried about putting it in there loose, and on a windy day, you know, it gets knocked over. We've seen a little bit of that, not as much as we thought we would, but that's kind of the idea with the whole shredding program is they pull in, they have that certificate, it has their name and address, they record it, and then they pull around, and the staff at East Central Recycling helps them shred that paper, and then they just keep track of all that.
So how do they go about getting that certificate? Is that something like online?
Yeah. I email it to them. Yeah, okay. So I email it to them, or I provide copies in the office for people that may not have access to printers and stuff like that. And then eventually we haven't gotten there yet because we're still kind of catching up, but we're gonna be doing a monthly newsletter. The other thing that I forget to mention is with the opt-in program, we collected a lot of data. So we have at least your phone number, and most 75% of it we have your email. So we'll be able to continue with that communication about contamination, issues like that, community events, and also like the shredding certificate, stuff like that. So, yeah.
This is probably not a problem for you, but it would be for the other Jason.
Yeah.
People who put recyclables in the grocery store bag, plastic bags, yep, and then take the bag out and throw it in the recycling cart.
Yeah.
How much of a problem do you know is that for Jason? Because he has to break that bag.
It is a problem. We've seen a little bit of it. You know, we're still doing waste audits where I watch the trucks dump, or I'm on the back lifting up carts. So what we're doing is we have 2 code enforcement officers right now, potentially adding 1 or 2 more with the program growth. But we're trying to stay on top of that, where if our drivers notice that or they see something like that, we're trying to notify them and let the resident or homeowner know, hey, you're not supposed to bag this material. But it can obviously be a problem. But I've been shocked at how a lot of people are still putting it in blue bags. Not a lot of people, but some people. And so we're just kind of reiterating and doing education. They're just hesitant to do, for whatever reason, they're hesitant to put it in there loose, because for 25 years they bagged it.
It's changed.
It's changed, and it freaks them out.
Very scary thing.
Or they're like, I got to get rid of my blue bags. I got a stash of 500. So it's a little bit of a problem, but not as bad as we thought.
Jason, I'd like to commend you. I mean, I think your passion and excitement with regard to engaging your clients is what's making the program a success, in all honesty. So you and your whole staff are to be doing a wonderful job. And I've worked with communities that, you know, they like to make rules, and then they don't want to talk to anybody after they make the rule, and they don't get anything done. But you're amongst a group of recycle nerds, so feel free to nerd out. And,
that feels so good.
You know, great job.
It's awesome to watch this. I mean, and see what you're doing. I mean, your thoroughness and education. I mean, it's just outstanding.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I give kudos to your boss.
Yeah.
And whoever's on that board that said it's okay, go with it.
Yeah.
We know it's going to cost a lot of money, but it's the right thing to do.
My board and administrator have been very supportive from the beginning, and that makes the world of difference. And then the team that I have, you know, we did hire we had to hire 2 new employees to accommodate the program. We're gonna have to hire probably 2 more, you know, or work with efficiency and stuff. But so it's creating jobs. It's we've got great feedback from the community. Like I said, we've had a few people say, well, I thought it might work, but this isn't going to work for me. And that's been very minimal. You know, I'd say 10 households, you know, compared to the 10,000 plus we're serving. So overall, they've adapted to the change. And I don't hesitate to say, Muncie, you know, to the residents, you're doing a great job, you know, because they are really, because you never know the change. 25 years of doing something that's made. And then the Recycle Partnership has really helped with a lot of the direct communication because they've tested a lot of that. And so that's been really helpful.
Yeah, Jason, I also compliment you on an excellent effort and job done and getting the data and oversight that is very important for this kind of project. And your ability to communicate with the households is a confidence builder. And so you have that link with the households, and your system is set up such that you can measure the outputs from the household. You know how many households are coming in, you know how many tons are going out as recyclables. And so then you can go back to say, well, how many pounds of recyclables are being generated per household? You can look at individual households, and then if you get multifamily type units of recycling, you can start to discern how many pounds of recyclables are being generated per household. And you can expand upon those numbers. If especially working with TRP, of course, they've done studies similar that you would fall in line very good with their studies. How many pounds should be generated as recyclables? You know, glass, metal paper, plastic, go to a 96 gallon container, 800 pounds per year is what they had found. And when backtracking your numbers, you can say, well, households, you know, if you're doing the best, there should be 800 pounds of pure recyclables per household that could be collected. And we're generating maybe 100 pounds or 200 pounds or 400 pounds collection. And so again, you engage them and say, there's more material to be had from a household that we're not getting, even though it's very clean. And we applaud and encourage you in that way. But you have the means to communicate with them. And it's great. I don't know. I mean, certainly don't take that for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Like the calls that I've had to make about contamination, like early on where a driver notifies me, and I just call them and I just very gently explain to them how the program works. And, you know, some people get a little flustered. They feel like you're attacking them. And it's like, no, you don't have, this isn't mandatory. You don't have to do the program. We're here to help. And, you know, at the end of the conversation, they do understand and they say, well, I'll do better. And they do. You know, we haven't had repeat issues. Maybe 1 or 2 where we had to pull a toter because they just weren't going to provide it all. That's been very minimal. But that being able to contact that household is really important. Is going to help for the long-term success of the program for sure.
Jan, I think this would be a good nominee for the Governor's Award in recycling. Deadline March 1st.
Is tonnage track when it goes into the MRF? I guess is that where it gets come in per truck? It does it get tracked that way?
Yeah, which is way easier than obviously the previous way of doing it. But yeah, so they pull in, they hit the scale. The scale house identifies its recycling.
Coming in.
Yeah.
I know the MRF reports what goes out.
Yeah.
But in addition, they track what's coming in.
Yeah. And a lot of the skepticism related to the Blue Bag program has gone away because they're, you know, I don't know how many times I went and presented it. They're like, is it even getting recycled? And, you know, this, like, I just don't believe this program works and this, that, and the other. No matter how many times you showed them pictures or explained it to them, they just still didn't believe it. But that skepticism has gone away with this program. They've just, they say, okay, this is what we want. Some people say this is what we wanted 25 years ago, but others, they're just, that their confidence that the material is actually getting recycled and their effort is worth it has increased tremendously.
Congratulations. Don't think your job's ever done.
No.
Yeah.
I know it's relentless and ongoing. So. Well, thank you all for the opportunity to update you and present. Yeah. I'll stick around for any questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Right, that was a great presentation. And we do have a second presentation lined up from Jeremy Troutwine with DAG Americas, also known as Alpec Polyester. He is on Zoom. Jeremy, are you still with us? You should hopefully be able to share your screen.
Yeah.
It might take a second.
There's a green button on the bottom that says share screen. There you go.
And I'll let you go ahead and present your project and some of the results that you guys have had as well. Thank you for being here.
I'm not sure how you guys are seeing it. If let me see if I can put it in presentation mode.
If you click slideshow, there should be a present button. There you go.
All right. So my name is Jeremy Troutwine. I'm with Alpec Polyester at our Richmond site. And this is our recycling market development or IDEM review. First off, I would like to thank everyone on the board for allowing us to participate and supporting us through this project. We internally call this project Avenger. You know, the first time around developing the plant, we didn't really do some things that we should have the correct way to position ourselves. And so this was our second attempt to that. And we feel that it went pretty well. You know, and I also want to give a special thanks to Deanna. She was a very good support and resource through this. So we do appreciate all the help with that. We'll go through and kind of review our process just real quick, just kind of give everyone an update on what it is that we do. We recycle PET. So we take the bottles from curbside, we run it through mechanical separation, trommels, eddy currents, metal separation, and then we finally go through bottle sortation, which we'll go further into. That was actually the target of this project. And then we wash the bottles, grind, and then we turn that into flake and further process the flake, finally making our PET pellet, which go back to bottle. So it's a circular economy here in Indiana, bottle to bottle transformation of the PET bottles that we receive from MRFs and suppliers. As far as the project that we did, we were struggling to get not only quality, but the yield and throughput with our existing equipment. So we developed this program to further extend our sortation process. So this is the layout that we had starting off. We had 3 optical sorters that really separated the clear PET from the rest of the stream. Even though we are a PET recycler, we get it from curbside material, which means we have a lot of different other products, non-PET, whether it be aluminum, cardboard, PEPP, you know, just different items. And we were really overwhelming the system, you know, that we originally built. So, you know, fast forwarding to our project and scope of work, in the front of our process, we installed 3 additional optical sorters, which allowed us to separate the material sooner in the process, divert the non-PET items, the PEPP, to a byproduct stream before going into the wet trommel. It also helped us to separate the cardboard and papers before it went into the wet trommel, and that full bottle wash, which allowed us to clean up our water streams and really kind of capitalize further downstream on yields and throughputs. So this was a big benefit on many different levels: yield, throughput, quality. So it impacted, you know, us at 3 different levels throughout our process. This is just capturing some of the work that went into it. Basically, we had to remove 1/3 of our operating plant and then reinstall new equipment. I think there was somewhere along the lines of 33 conveyors, 3 optical sorters. We had to move and reinstall some equipment such as eddy currents. We had to reposition, you know, and we did all this within 2 weeks. You know, so you know, I feel that you know, the planning and the efforts really kind of paid off with the downtime of only 2 weeks to accomplish this project. So when we get down to the nuts and bolts of, you know, what did this project really do for us? You can see here in the trends, this is our 2 through 7s, or our non-PET byproduct stream. This would be our PEPP. We were really able to reduce the amount of generation by an average of 226,000 per month. So, you know, we really were able to reduce our byproduct stream and capitalize on some of those products that were going to landfill. So within that 2 through 7 or non-PET stream, we were able to recover 1.5% of that stream as rPET bottle-to-bottle sales. So, you know, this project helped us streamline and clean up the byproducts, pull additional PET that we were missing, and capture that and put that back into bottle sales. So, and then as far as throughputs and overall yield, our overall yield did make a step change of an increase of about 3%. And this is for our clear PET that goes bottle to bottle into our pelletizing process that you know, moves further downstream within the circular economy. We were also able to increase our throughputs up to 5.5 million, which was the targeted projection of this project, which is an increase of about 230,000 pounds of clean, clear flake going to pellet, which equates to about 410,000 pounds of curbside material that we were able to get through our machine with the increased capacity. So that's a real quick summary of the project. Along with this project, it did allow us to, we utilized this project as a milestone or a good foothold in order to leverage other projects, which we are now putting in action. We just completed another project in December to further bottleneck downstream of this. So the benefits that we've seen so far off this project, you know, we've not seen the full benefit yet. We've hit our targets for what we thought we would. Now with further debottlenecking of downstream equipment, we'll see a greater benefit than what we even realized we would. And we're already starting to see that with the project that we completed in December. which was debottlenecking our wash line. We have 2 other projects coming up this quarter that will help further decrease the bottlenecks going from our wash line through our wash line, which will further increase our throughputs and capabilities of getting curbside material through our process. The second project that we were able to leverage because of this will not only hit our throughputs, but it will also target our yields. So this really allowed us to open up different projects and debottleneck our entire system. So, you know, without the support and the help from your guys' board and committee, we wouldn't have been able to leverage the ongoing performance, you know, of this plant and opportunities of this plant. So again, thank you. And we appreciate everything you guys did for us.
Thank you, Jeremy. Very detailed overview. Thank you very much. Looks like great success with some numbers. Any questions from board members?
Just real briefly, we did fund them $300,000 for those 3 optical sorters we mentioned at the front.
Yes. Yep. Correct.
Go ahead, Terry.
I may have missed it. What do you do with the non-PET plastics?
So the non-PET plastics, and that's really been an up and down stream for us. We've really struggled. We've went from selling it to landfilling it back to selling that material just recent. So this project helped us also leverage the cells by cleaning that byproduct stream and removing more of the PET and the non-plastic items from that stream, allowing us to renegotiate with our buyers on taking that material, because this project did very much allow us to clean that stream up.
Jeremy, this is Debbie Hackman. With your increased productivity, do you see any problem in acquiring enough material to keep the machines busy?
At this point, no. We've been able to acquire enough material that we've not seen any shutdowns because of lack of material. So our suppliers are keeping us fed. We've seen that in the past. Fortunately, you know, this year we've not struggled with that.
Where does your feedstock come from? Is it local or mainly, or?
Some of it is local, but really all over the U.S. We even get some from Canada. We get some from, you know, here in Indiana, Ohio, even California, Michigan, New Jersey, all over.
And it's post-consumer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Anyone online have a question for Jeremy? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, next on the agenda, we're going to do the update from Deanna.
Oh. Before we get to the legislative updates, I do want to circle back to the grantee that withdrew, that we awarded funding to, $98,000. So because this is still in that same fiscal year that we awarded in October, there is an ability to take that and do something with it. My suggestion would be to look at the grantees that we awarded funding to that did not receive the full amount they requested, and see if we want to possibly award them that additional funding that's now available. Those 2 grantees were CT Polymers and Indiana Shingle Recycling. So I can give a brief overview too of their projects. CT Polymers was purchasing additional equipment, quite a bit of equipment to be able to create plastic pellets from recyclable materials and being able to better shred the fines of the plastic film. The expansion was expected to have 10 to 12 employees, an additional 10,000 tons per year of recycled plastics, scrap plastics, PE, PP, and PET, it says. Indiana Shingle Recycling, if you recall, is the shingle recyclers. So they were also looking for equipment to better process and recycle the shingles. Shredder, feed, and discharge feed hopper. Indiana Shingle Recycling asked for $495,000, and we awarded them the remaining that we had at $360,213. And I apologize, I don't have more notes for you guys on all this. This was very like I found out yesterday, basically. CT Polymers was awarded the 500 that, or requested 500,000 and was awarded 300,000.
And you
so
probably, do you have any updates from either of them? Probably not yet.
Not yet. CT Polymers is ready to go and purchase everything. They're just waiting on the grant executions. So they're excited to move forward on the projects. I know.
So you're asking, you're asking to take the monies that was awarded, was it $98,000?
$98,992 to be exact.
Okay, and then reallocate them to these two that had already been awarded, but just up their kitty.
That's my suggestion. The board can, I mean, the board can even look at other ones that weren't awarded, but that
would,
would be kind of complicated.
So,
right, at this point.
So there are only two that didn't receive the full amount they requested. Okay.
So I make a motion that we split the available funds in half.
Or you guys can also do the full funds to one or the other. So
I would make a motion to split and give each one half.
We have a motion by Mr. Lutz to split the available balance in half and award half to CT Polymers and half to Indiana Shingle Recycling, correct?
Yes.
Second.
A second by Ms. Hackman. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Hackman?
Yes.
Mr. Guerin?
Yes.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead?
Yes.
Ms. Wessler Henry? Or Mr. Gratz?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Noonan? All right. Did not count Tara's vote, but hearing that, we have a unanimous vote to pass the motion as presented. So thank you very much, Craig. Thank you, Deanna. We want to make our money used as appropriately as possible.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Guerin.
Sure, can't recall whether I was allowed to vote on Indiana recycling or Indiana Shingle Recycling or not.
If you did recuse yourself at that primary vote, then we need to strike your vote from the record. We need to do any.
From Indiana Shingle Recycling.
I was.
You were. Yeah.
Do we need to do anything on a more formal basis? Deanna to strike his vote.
Yes, yeah, yes. We have not had to strike a vote before, so just do it again.
So we just need to do another motion, please.
Do you want, can you review anybody except the two that were recused so we do it right the first time?
As in review who has been
Who
recused?
recused of both of these?
I have to go and look at individuals. So if anybody has a question, let me know. Terry, I can tell you for Indiana Shingle is recused.
I'm pulling up my notes.
Yeah.
Just taking me a moment. So,
You have to ask the list of who was excluded.
yeah. So Indiana Shingle Recycling, Terry was the only one. And then CT Polymers, there was none. No.
So we need to, do I need to make a motion to revote? Or do we just?
Or give a motion to strike?
We have to make a motion. We can make a motion to
I'll
strike.
make a motion to strike the previous vote.
Do I have a second? Okay. I think we can do all of her. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, previous motion has been stricken. Do I have a new motion?
I'll make a motion, second motion to split the available funds evenly between CT Polymers and Indiana Shingles.
And do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Hackman. Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Ms. Uyghur?
Yes.
Ms. Hackman?
Yes.
Mr. Gurin is going to recuse himself.
Yes.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead?
Yes.
Mr. Gratz?
Yes.
Ms. Wessler Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan is off. I vote yes. With that, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Terry, for pointing that out. Now we have the legislative updates.
Okay. I did include this in your board packet if you got a chance to see it. If anybody wants a copy of it, I kind of made a summary, so I don't know. But there are a couple bills out there this session that do affect the board. So I just wanted to give you guys a brief update on those. House Bill 1026 does change the expiration date of board member terms, clarifies language on per diem, mileage, and travel expenses. Nothing changes regarding those. You are all eligible for those as a sidebar. Nobody right now is claiming expenses, but at any time, if you want to claim expenses, please reach out to me. We can get the appropriate paperwork in place to get those reimbursements started. And then the one note of interest in this House Bill 1026 is that the board meetings will take place at the offices of the chairperson, and they struck out where they could take place at either the lieutenant governor's office or commissioner of the Department of Environmental Management's offices. So I brought that up to our legislative liaison. It did pass in the House already with this language in it. So there's a chance in the Senate for amendment to take place, but he didn't feel too confident that that may happen. So that's just something moving forward that we would be looking at possibly Bruce Burrow hosting us in the future meetings.
But it says once per quarter, so that would be every meeting.
Every meeting, exactly.
And it says will, not can.
No, yeah, exactly. It's very like doesn't give another option in this the way that the language is stated. It's very interesting. Obviously,
unfortunately, we're going to have to submit another grant request to build a bigger conference.
But I found it very interesting. I don't know I don't know what they were thinking when they threw that in there. I didn't get any feedback from the authors or anything.
And that's just specifically this board? It's not. Oh,
correct. It's specifically this board. This bill goes through a bunch of the different boards and administrations, and it makes a lot of these changes. But this particular one specific to the board. And then just to point out too, the term lengths, they've changed that language so that 4 members would expire December 31st, 2025, 4 members then in 2027. And it says, as the governor determined by the governor. So I'm still kind of reaching out to them and trying to figure out what that means for your terms that expire this July and how to determine which 4 are going to be, expiring in 2025. Are we still renewing things from this? There's a lot of questions around how we're going to implement that new change that I don't have answers to yet. So,
and that nobody asked you about.
Oh no, this is not. This was definitely brought to my attention after the fact, and actually it was brought to attention because of the fiscal impact, asking about fiscal impact of the per diem and travel expenses, and the other things was on my review of it at that point. So, any questions regarding House Bill 1026 before I move on to?
Yeah, who sponsored this? No, I don't. It's not one of us. So that's somebody that sits on a board.
No, it was not somebody that sits on the board. It was not a name I was familiar with.
Okay. I can look it up.
Okay.
So in New York, that you hadn't. Off top of you.
Sometimes I do.
Because they call and talk to you.
No. I just know from our legislative life. It was authored by Representative Karen Engelman, co-authored by Representative Kyle Pierce, Pat Boy, and Edward Lee. Yeah, if you guys want to reach out to them too and express your concern about that. So next bill that affects the board, and this is just fine, House Bill 1278 repeals the Indiana Code where the Office of Energy has to consult the board on the revolving loan program and grants. So they came to that last meeting to consult with us, right? So they're just being proactive and having that removed from statute. So that's fantastic. The last kind of legislative update will transition us into the next agenda item. Bruce, if you want me to move on.
Sure.
So everybody's probably wondering about legislation regarding the Central Indiana Waste Diversion projects. We were told that there would hopefully be an amendment this session regarding those to clarify those conflicts of language, and there has not been any bills or amendments made this session. And we don't, I think it's too late at this point to submit any of that. So the board is left with interpreting the language as is. So so what I'd like for us to discuss briefly is those 2 major conflicts of timing and then the amount allowed for disbursement, right? So if you recall, there was, it said 2 years, or was it a year after award that the next round will commence. I'm comfortable with saying that we are working on that next round. We're working on the paperwork. It is commencing, but we can stick to that timeline. That's also in the language of allowing applications open in July with a review by IDEM and recommendations provided to the board December. So those 2 would be this year in 2024. You guys would receive those recommendations in December. We don't have a next board meeting until end of January, beginning of February. And that's when we would then award these next round of waste diversion projects would be the 2025, first meeting in 2025. But I'm open to discussions if you want or interpret that language otherwise.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I think if you are comfortable with it, because it's you and your staff that have to work on it, I'm good with it.
The one thing with that July through December is pretty set in stone. So yeah, even if we're not comfortable with it, like, we'll make it work. The October is the deadline for submitting. I didn't throw that deadline in there, but that's also written into the statute that will accept applications through
July
through October.
Is when it open in July, closed in October.
Yeah.
Then it comes to
we have them and we can review them until December.
Till December
is when we have to provide recommendations.
And so then once it provides recommendations in December, it will come to the board. And then in the January-ish 25 meeting is when we'll have the full-blown meeting specifically to the Central Indiana Waste Diversion Round 2 projects to review. Yep. Okay. Do you need a motion?
I don't think so. Yeah. Then if you guys any discussion else on that, I think that that's straightforward.
As long as we're not having a meeting at my office.
I can't tell you if I will be or not.
Is there office space for lease here?
I did wonder if we could maybe do some sort of partnership or something. I don't know. We'll have to look into it.
We're going to have to step down and make Terry chair. You can have it for the house.
So the second part, of course, was the funding conflicts. To read the language again, at one point in the bill, it says the board may use funds allocated but not used in a previous round of grants to award grants to applicants in a subsequent round. But then it goes on to say, to implement the second round of grants described in this chapter, the board shall award not more than a total of $2 million to applicants.
Because at the one time we were talking about there was available of the initial $4 million, there was $1 million left over that we thought that this $2 million was actually going to bring up to $3 million.
Right.
And then it was like the amendment or the question was, can you give that? And the kind of thought was, but because they did not change, it's still $2 million max. Is it back to the $2 million?
It's up to your interpretation of what that says. Like if that's the final word that it says not more than 2 million, or if that's not more than 2 million plus what was from the subsequent round. And to clarify with what happened with the subsequent round, we also had the one withdrawal. So we have 1.7 million left on the table from the subsequent.
Can you read the language again?
Yes. Yeah. It says, first part, use funds allocated but not used in previous round of grants to award grants to applicants in a subsequent round. Then it says, to implement the second round of grants described in this chapter, the Indiana Recycling Market Development Board shall award not more than a total of $2 million to applicants.
Wow.
I could interpret that as meaning the second pot of money, the second round.
What if we just took the first interpretation and see what happens?
That's what I agree with that. Because I think that's how I felt. I don't know about you all, but I think we all kind of felt at the end of that grant round that we would be able to grant that money to someone else because we hadn't used it.
And that first piece of language, I think, is very clear.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the second piece is maybe just less clear.
Yeah, yes.
And I guess one thing that we can take into consideration and Bruce can speak of this is we did have a meeting with the bill authors. And you can say what, you know, their intent and what.
Well, their intent was to get the language changed. And it obviously didn't happen, but they were very much in agreement with our concerns and our request to change. It's just for whatever reason in the legislature, you know, changes don't always get made.
Well, I think that's helpful to understand the original intent. I would interpret it as meaning we can allocate those remaining funds in the next round.
Is there anyone that we should check with, Deanna, to make sure we don't get our hand slab going down the road?
We can definitely check with our rules team and Office of Legal Counsel, double check on this for sure. Yeah.
So the last feedback we received from you guys was more or less what the board determination is, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would even say with that, you know, we can ask Nancy because she's usually the rules person within OLC, just to make sure that she's on board with that. But yeah, I honestly am not a rules specific attorney. It's not something I've done in the past, but I don't see any issue with what you guys have said with using the original interpretation. That said, I'm, you know, wouldn't know why not to. So,
like throwing a red flag.
I was going to say, Deanna, if we talk to rules, that second part where it says no more than 2 million, it says per this chapter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the other language in a different chapter? And I think that's what a rule writer or a rule interpreter would look at. If that's in a different chapter, and if that language specifically says as per this chapter, then we could include the 2. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, the first one's in, I see 13, 20, 26. They're both in.
They're both in the same chapter.
26, and then I don't know what 2 and 3 is. I think those are subsets. I think the chapter is 26, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So yes, they are in the same chapter. Yes. All right. Well, what I'm hearing is that the board would like to use those funds pending that rule says that we can do that.
That's my understanding. Yes.
We will go with that, and I will follow up with the rules and legal and make sure that we can still go forward. Okay. So at the next board meeting, we will be approving the application and guidelines for both RMDB grants and the Central Indiana Waste Diversion Grant, so that I can have those ready for July to post. I definitely appreciate your guys' feedback at any time, comments, anything that you thought from last year. I'll go ahead and send out copies of the previous forms so that you can have them. But anything that you'd like to see different that maybe you didn't feel worked out very well last time that I can incorporate in the new versions is helpful to me. Bruce and I had a short conversation about applications versus proposals even. Sometimes we have troubles with applications and boxes to fill out because people do the bare minimum in those boxes, as we've seen in the last round of grants. Except for this language says specifically that we're providing applications for the Central Indiana Waste Diversion projects. So just ways that we can make sure that those are completed and we're getting the information we want. I know last time we asked for a lot of additional information.
Yeah, and my conversation more centered around, rewarding the applicant for providing a thorough and complete application. somehow in our scoring matrix.
And so that for RVP, I'm looking at that, the issue that arises with the Central Indiana, and maybe the board can speak on this too. We didn't do scores for the Central Indiana diversion projects because it just says that the item provides recommendations. So we looked at them and we provided what we liked about them, what we disliked about them, concerns we had, and then we let the board make those determinations based on that. If you want to see, if you guys want to do the scoring, I can try to put something together, but the item won't be scoring it. It would just be the board still. But yeah, that's something else that we encountered with these and working within what's in the legislation.
Well, somehow I hope that we can get applications that people realize they're receiving grant funding. They should be able to submit the detail requested so that you guys aren't chasing them around and calling them, 5 or 6 times to get a document.
And that's a continuing discussion that we have within our offices as well, is at what point are we just saying this an incomplete application and tossing it, right? We want these projects to be successful and we want to award funding. So we do help them along the process, but we also can't constantly handhold them. So it's a balancing line between those two things. Because at some point you have to just say, hey, you're not eligible. This was not a complete application.
You have a checklist, right?
We do, yeah. A lot of times it's never, even from the get-go, I mean, we could eliminate 60% of our applicants. We just rely on that checklist.
That's what a lot of other grant applicants do. I mean,
yeah,
grant students.
I know.
They don't give you second chances.
I know.
And this year you'll have 2 sets of grants to review. So, which makes your time even more valuable. So, yeah, I would be strict on if they don't have everything that's supposed to be in there.
I agree with Sandy. I think there's a point in time where we have to tell the children no. And
quite honestly, though,
no candy for you.
1512 also does talk about second round. Don't like the project proposals you get, or if people don't fully complete it, then yeah, that we can be more strict about it. Say, well, try next time if there is a next time.
I mean, we get a nice group of selections, right? I mean, there are a lot of good grants that come in. So why pull your hair out?
Yeah, some we don't get down to them because there wasn't enough money.
Yeah.
That may have done everything right.
I mean, this last RMTP grant round, honestly, the quality of the applications as they came in, we probably would not have had 2 million eligible to award if I had just tossed them out at the very beginning when they were submitted. It's not something you guys get to see, but the process of applications and people, the work they put into them is always kind of disappointing when they come through.
Well, that's crazy. That's just crazy.
From my background, yeah, it is, because you're trying to get money, right? So you think there'd be some quality control on what you're applying. And we provide the checklists and other things. So
how can we help Deanna and staff?
It's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
The balance between coaching to consulting, or and yet you do not want to discourage, because we want to keep this process going, and in order for the process to go, we have, just like material, we have to have in feed, you have to have inbound material. So it's a kind of we want to give monies out. In order to give monies out, we got to get that. Yet we don't, you know, simple errors and omissions we can coach through, but
blatant disregard for request.
yeah, for the rules and the regulations, that's where it's kind of like that. Yeah, where's that final? I don't know. Yeah.
Deanna, is there
Job security, I guess. I call it for you.
is there any kind of like a online webinar in advance of the applications?
Here's what good looks like. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, did do that last time before the
Central Indiana ones, we
Yeah.
did do the online, and we had very few questions. It was very disappointing as far as like people seeking guidance. We don't do one for RMDP, we just have the guidelines out there, and that is worth considering.
Is a good example. Could you put like best in class? This is what great looks like. This is what good looks. And use other ones that got full, or is that a kind of a confidentiality type?
If you can make one up. This is what we would like, you know.
That's the
we'd
best
like
way
to-
to do it.
Just
If we got permissions, I mean, pretty much the applications for the most part are in the public domain because this happens at a public meeting and all these other things.
Are they easy to get to? So sometimes they're kind of like hidden.
Yeah, no, we don't post them anywhere. And we make people do a public request for information to get a sample one at this point.
Yeah, that would be, might be, yeah, they're there. However, you got to dig through and go through. So it's like,
But I think having a sample the
it
best.
sounds like on it. In this box, you should explain, you know, just like, you know, numbers or where you're going to get your material, or, you know, these
I would
things.
say having a good example is probably sufficient enough. I don't really need to say like this was a terrible one.
Don't be like God.
Yeah. But I think if there's you know really good project proposals that you guys that Deanna has seen, and you would like, you know,
Well, you
say
could, bits and pieces from the cover.
Yeah, yeah, I can look into that.
So you said you'll send the current guidelines to us so we can look at them.
Yeah, yeah.
That might be good to add to the discussion. To sort of what you guys as a board will be wanting to see as well, especially for the central list.
So I mean, they'll have to actually approve the guidelines at the next meeting.
Right.
So any feedback in advance, just sending me an email. And I'll definitely send out my guidelines instead of doing the 2 weeks with the board packet. I'll set a goal to send it out a little bit earlier.
The guidelines for the grants.
The drafts of the guidelines for both grants.
The sooner the better. For
Yeah.
them. So 2 weeks is tomorrow. This afternoon would be good.
Okay, I don't have them yet. Yes, I'll look into sending them early.
I think coloring works well.
So are you going to put together a mock application with examples of what's expected? Or did we talked around about a lot of ways to coach these people?
Right. I can look into trying to.
Is that something the staff could put together?
That's also.
Are you staff?
I'm staff.
Yeah.
This is why I'm like, yeah.
And I'm sure that you know in the back of your head, you probably got some rolling around that said that was a really good application.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just, there was a change words to protect the innocent and all, you know, numbers or something.
Yeah.
It also might be better to do what you're saying, Debbie, and giving an explanation, because there are so many different types of projects that, you know, someone might look at that and go, well, that's not about what I'm doing, you know. So maybe explaining what you want. I'm not saying I've looked at the application before, I filled out the application before, and it asks good questions and they're very straightforward. But I don't know, maybe there needs to be some other kind of explanation.
I think with the RMDP grants, like I discussed with Bruce, what I want to do is revise the scoring metrics so that there is that explanation of, like, in the 20-point category, like 15 to 20 means that you provided this level of detail, this, you know, additional metrics within there, and then provide those in the guidelines so that we tried. So, and just to say, we tried this with community recycling grants this last year, and it was hit or miss. It actually was effective. But it's kind of what you're saying. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is how we will score it. If people cannot take the time at that point to read that we've provided them, then they kind of deserve the scores they get, right?
I know the CRGP application was a lot more straightforward this year and didn't have as much repetition.
Exactly.
The repetition is kind of crazy sometimes in applications, and CRGP was a lot better.
Yeah, and we worked, the manager worked very hard to get that streamlined and clear. Those metrics were, really, I got to participate in scoring, and the metrics told you more or less how to score if they provided this, and this. It was like 10 points. If they didn't provide it, you know, nothing, you know. Yeah. And that did help. But it didn't help with the quality of the applications. That's what's disappointing. Like, it just seems that some people don't read through the guidelines.
As an example of what the details she's looking for, it's one applicant. Describe your outreach program. The answer was yes.
Outreach to the public. That's literally how they answered it. So
that's kind of mind-boggling.
Answered with explosive. I mean, it might require. I know that the Indiana Coastal Zone Management Program, if they give out annual grants every year, they were having the same difficulties as at DNR. They got to the place where they were doing an annual grants workshop in person to help people, like, make sure that they're doing the things you're talking about, Tiana. Not just saying yes to a question that is not a yes or no answer, right? You need to describe what you're trying to do for that. So,
and you did a presentation at our association, our solid waste districts.
We very frequently, work with the Association of Solid Waste Management Districts, with Circular Indiana when they were doing stuff. When, you know, we do our best to get that out there as much as possible when there's opportunities to present on that, and we provide best practices on how to build out the application.
So was there any correlation between the applicants themselves and the quality? So like the businesses, were they good? The maybe local ones weren't so great? Because I just know that there's one county that the commissioner said, you will apply for this grant, and they didn't want to do it.
Right.
Guess who that was?
So there's some correlation, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's just local or it's just this. It's like if they have grant experience, if they have a grant manager on staff, if they just have people who are good communicators versus, you know, those who don't often have to write a proposal or application.
Someone drove a truck yesterday, today they told me.
Right.
Grant.
Right. And you're exactly right. That does happen where these people no idea of what they're getting into. Maybe they've never even written long paragraphs since, you know, college or, you know, whatnot, asked to provide these detailed explanations. And you can see that obviously in some of them, but it's not always like organizations, businesses have that high quality and local municipalities don't. It's across the board.
It's just people.
Yeah.
Well, you know, just, you know, we address it with the association, and I don't know if that's, you know, if that helped. I don't know if the association in the counties, if we, you know, maybe suggest to them maybe some grant. I mean, not you, but somebody who provides some grant writing assistance. Another extension of something for them.
I can imagine, I mean, even if you offer an example with redacted information of here's a good one, I don't think that's enough. I think we would have to literally put a little call out box when it says, you know, 8 new employees and say, this is good. This is a concrete number. And to highlight, you know, this is. Yeah. But yeah, I think there'd be a way to make it also so that somebody doesn't have to do critical thinking. You know, instead of reading through and interpreting like what is good about this, we could make it a little clearer. We're looking for numbers, we're looking for lists, we're looking for, you know, more than yes.
So I guess we'll all try to give more input on the guidelines that you send us and try to be more critical thinkers on it ourselves to see if there's anything we can.
I think that's exactly what Deanna was hoping to hear.
Yes, I appreciate that. And obviously, I know that means getting those to you sooner than later. Keep that in mind as I'm working on it.
Anything else, Deanna?
Just crossed my mind as far as things I'm working on. I know I didn't give you guys an update on the state swimmer project. So we're still working on that RFP to get it back out there working with the DOA. So it's been delayed. I didn't know DOA takes so long to communicate with us and work with us. So I'm still working through that, but I'll definitely make sure you guys are aware when the RFPs go out. So I appreciate you guys sharing that with anybody you think would be a good consultant that can do those plans for us. You know, the more applicants, the better quality we get to choose from when we award that. And then I still hope to kind of overlap the two with the state plan and the local plans. So hopefully like a year and a half into this 3-year, we will still be reaching out to the local communities to start working on their funding for local plans. So, I don't think there's any other updates that I forgot.
So at the next meeting, will we then have designations with regard to board member terms?
I will keep you updated. That stuff will have been to the governor's office for review and hopefully.
I'm just kind of looking through. We've got the, you know, evaluations and then the scoring and then the awards, and we're going to be, you know,
right at the end of your.
Hopefully, everybody's going to stay on board. But
I hope to have that too.
Okay.
It's on the whims of the governor's office.
Thank you. All right. Well, if there's no other, anyone have any other business that they want to bring in front of the board?
Does it says we have to in this legislature? It says that underneath we marked out that we have to have office of the chairperson at least once each calendar quarter. So we wouldn't have to have all of them at your office. We could have 4 jobs.
No, we have to have a chairperson.
That. Okay.
Well, hearing no other items, I guess remaining 20. Our next meeting is April 25th. Is that correct, Deanna?
Yes.
And then we have July 25th, October 24th. Hopefully it's going to be a very busy year. I think there's a lot going on. I mean, I know you're busy. I know everyone's busy, but hopefully we get some exciting new projects in the works. A little new technology out there. It's been exciting, particularly with Central Indiana waste diversion trains. All right, if there's no other, well, if there's any public comment from anyone online or anyone in the room, any words of wisdom from Pat? Well, hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thanks to everyone very much. Please be careful out on the highways. Watch the fog and